Hey everyone, welcome back to CableCast. My name is Caleb Ryor, and today I'm joined by Ashton Cox, once again joining the CableCast, just following up his 4th place finish in the Players Cup Invitational. Say hi, Ashton.
What's going on? Happy to be back.
Glad to have you back too. I just had David on, so I couldn't have you and David on again. But this time, joining us is the 2018 NAIC Champion, former EV eccentric, and close team building partner to Ashton Cox, Jeremy Rodriguez. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, I was curious last time. I was talking with David and James. I didn't know when I was going to record again, because, Players Cup Series 5, the Invitational, I respect that you got 4th in the Invitational, Ashton, but it's Series 4. It's already old news.
Yeah.
They did have the hidden ability starters, and we talked about that. That's cool. But we got some DLC stuff to talk about. I won't ruin any plot points for you, Ashton. I know you haven't played the DLC yet, but
I don't know why I haven't. Honestly, it's not even that it's not interesting. It's just haven't been able to get to it yet, I guess. Too much testing.
Yes,
that's what I've been doing.
The important stuff to us competitive players is all the new toys we get to play with. So that's actually what I want to start off with. I assume you guys are on the same Cerebi page as me, but I just want to talk about these new moves because, honestly, I don't know what I was expecting with new tutor moves. When we first heard about it, was Grassy Glide and Burning Jealousy were the first two we found out about. They seemed like really good. Burning Jealousy could have been better. But what are your guys' thoughts on just the impact these moves are going to have going forward? Do we expect to see a lot of some of them?
Are you saying of all the moves or just those two?
No, just all the moves in general. I know we've all been playing the games. Grassy Glide's obviously a staple in Rillaboom, but do any of these stand out as long metagame impact moves that people should be looking out for?
Well, it's
How have
interesting.
you not mentioned Expanding Force?
Yeah.
I wanted someone to. Expanding Force is nuts, to put it frankly. As someone who's been extensively testing Terrakion, it terrifies me. Never thought Alakazam would be something I would ever respect, but here we are. I can't just redirect the funny psychic move.
Yeah, I know.
Because for people who don't know, in Psychic Terrain, not only does it get a boost in damage, it's also spread move. So
somehow Hatterene and Didi got better. I don't know whose idea that was, but
Here, we'll go in order. Expanding Force. Do we have any other thoughts on that? There's a lot more psychic Pokemon get, I think, relevant next to Indeedee now, but Hat and Indeedee's still busted because whoever invented Gmax Smite should be smited themselves, in my opinion. But
I mean, James Beck was saying to me a while back, we were just talking about hypothetical Dynamaxes and stuff, or Gmaxes, and he was like, "Oh, why didn't they give Togekiss a Gmax?" And I was like, "Well, what would its special move have been? What would you have given a Togekiss?" And he was like, "Why don't we just give it Max Smite?" And I was like, "James, that would ruin the game. That would actually no one would want to play the game anymore. If Max Togekiss had Max Smite that crit 50% of the time, no one would play that.
Not be enjoyable. And often I'm setting up Misty Terrain with Togekiss so I don't get confused by Smite. That's just how that matchup has to go sometimes. But
the one thing I do want to mention about Expanding Force is either in this metagame or in a hypothetical future metagame where we still have Dynamax allowed, on a Psychic type, even without an Indeedee, I still think it's reasonable to run Expanding Force. Because the Max Mindstorm hits for the same amount of damage, and when the Dynamax runs out, you have Psychic Terrain and Expanding Force. So depending upon the way in which you're playing the game, that's still a very viable option in my opinion.
Oh, couldn't agree more on that point. Especially, I'm trying to think. There's certain Pokemon I feel like Slowbro would be.
Reuniclus is one that comes to mind.
A lot of the slower, bulkier psychics, I mentioned Alakazam earlier. I think those kind of fast psychic types, they're only relevant because the Psychic Terrain's on the field right away. But
yeah, well, it reminds me of Necrozma from 2019.
Yeah, Psy Spam. Oh, just
you can lead them together.
The idea of Lele getting this move in the future terrifies me. For that could be a near future. We don't know when the fall DLC comes, but They're coming back.
Well, it's weird because like everyone's already running Rillaboom, and obviously Rillaboom's a good Pokemon, but for me at least, even when I run Rillaboom, half the incentive is just to get rid of Psychic Terrain. So
there's a lot of weird speed dynamics within DD2. Like, do you want to underspeed it so when you lead it, the grassy terrain goes up? But no, then you want to be like faster than the Rotoms and everything, because Rotom Wash still a good Pokemon. And then in DD, like obviously if it's the Trick Room one, you're not underspeeding it, so it is a tough battle. I've actually seen people arguing not using G-Max on Rillaboom just because setting up the terrain over Psychic Terrain is that important. But
I hadn't even thought about that.
Oh, I forgot about the G-Maxes because we got more info on them. We'll talk about those after. Next move, Steel Roller.
Well, Jeremy, you want to mention the thing we've been talking about with Steel Roller?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Is it Togedemaru?
No. It's Kling Clang, mostly. I have a huge amount of respect for Steel Roller in a Dynamax meta, especially because as a max move, it's just utterly fantastic. But especially with Rillaboom being everywhere, with Psychic Terrain being everywhere, and even with opposing Dynamax like Primarina, for example, setting up Misty Terrain, you're going to be able to get that 130 base power move off a lot more frequently than you would think. So I have a lot of respect for Steel Roller.
And I think just the effect in it itself is important, especially with all the expanding force spam going around. We want to get those terrains either changed or away. So
100%.
Togedemaru was just the only other one I thought was like relevant that got it, because what is it? I don't see Bronzong really being good with it.
No.
But Kling Clang?
Well, the thing with Kling Clang, Shift Gear is and has always been a completely busted move. And the only reason we haven't seen more of it is that historically it's been on Pokemon that were either not good enough or not in a strong enough position within the meta. Right now, because of Dynamax, and also because Clear Body is just a fantastic ability, Kling Clang isn't necessarily broken, but it's certainly playable. And Steel Roller might push it to a level of viability I don't think it's ever seen in VGC before. So fingers crossed.
I might have to respect it then. That would be scary. I know it had like a little niche in Series 3 in which it was like really good against Triple Ghost.
Was it?
Because
grind.
I only say that because in MPA, Eric, I think he was either his first or second loss, but he lost to Kling Clang so bad that we thought it was like a counter team. But they were like, no, this guy just only uses Kling Clang. We didn't do our research.
He only uses Kling Clang.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
All right, let's get some trash moves we won't see out of the way. Scale Shot. It boosts speed but lowers defense, and it's a 2 to 5 times in a row base 20 dragon move.
What even I'm looking right now. What even learns that?
A lot of weird stuff. Like I remember Charizard, Barraskewda, Crocodile, I think gets it. Like it's anything with like a scale, essentially.
Weird.
All the dragons get it, but yeah, it won't.
Well, that's super weird.
So let me just say, I don't think this move is good, but I will absolutely be running Scale Shot Kyurem White on a meme team whenever Legends are legal again, because you're guaranteed to go up to at least +2 speed, and then you're a Kyurem White and you do Kyurem White things.
All right, I hate that. All right, cool. Next one, Skitter Smack. It's a shame that Bug got like the worst one, and like they gave it to a lot of non-bugs too. But it's a base 70 move with 90% accuracy that all it does is lowers their special attack stat. When honestly, I would Lunge is 100% accurate. Why isn't this one?
That's what I was gonna say. Well, it feels like a bad Spirit Break.
Yeah. That's
also not accurate. Like.
They gave it to like weird Pokemon. It's a physical move. They gave it to like Gengar, and like I don't really get it. The animation's funny.
Lunge is also 80 base power.
Yes, I forgot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they really screwed that one up.
Next bad-ish one. Burning Jealousy. I'll say that mostly just because of its distribution. Not a lot of fire types that probably wanted it, got it. Although it's a base 70 spread move. Yeah, spread move. I just had to make sure that was spread. Ugh, let me make sure so I'm not saying
it is
wrong things. Yes. Yeah, because I remember the animation. But, Heat Wave's just stronger. I guess you could run it on, like, Torkoal, I guess.
Well, it's really weird because we were kind of discussing this earlier. Burning Jealousy could be really good. And the way that it could be really good is if it burned anything that had a stat boost.
I agree. It has to be that same turn, which is unfortunate.
They just kind of... They made it so hard to get off consistently. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the only cool application I've seen is against Cinderace. Cinderace is basically always boosting a stat and not staying a fire type, so you can burn that pretty consistently.
That's true.
But that's it. That's literally it. That's the only thing that it does.
Not a horrid concept. It also only has 5 BP. Because they think it's that good of a move.
They're like, yeah, you don't get to click this more than 5 times, so you're going to win instantly.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
Next is Corrosive Gas, which I don't think is bad. I just don't think it's relevant right now.
Well,
it gets rid of every Pokemon on the field's item, including your partner, but not the Pokemon that uses it.
Items aren't busted right now. That's the weird thing. Mm-hmm. I could see it being actually really good in best of 3 for information if it tells you what you burn away. I don't know if it tells you what you burn away.
It tells you, I'm pretty sure, what burns away.
Because that could be pretty cool. Like, you have a chance of screwing up all your opponent's strategies.
It doesn't do damage, though.
That's the thing. Well, let me see what gets it, because potentially based on what gets it...
Salazzle and Gengar were the Pokemon
poison
that
types.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a niche move on, like, a Sash Gengar or something, but...
Well, I was thinking Xerneas. That's the item you want to get rid of. But, like...
But you're already a poison type, you know?
Yeah, or just Taunted, you know?
Yeah.
Next,
Magic Room will always be better.
Coaching.
Oh, coaching.
Did you hear about
Showdown being? Did you hear about Showdown being busted for coaching?
Yeah, it was for what, like 2 hours?
I got wrecked in those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, coaching. It gave the +1 attack and defense boost to you and your partner.
Mm-hmm. I was convinced coaching was busted.
But no, it only gives it to the partner. But it can't be redirected by Follow Me, which is cool.
Okay, well that's
lost
one thing going for it.
to Ryor Cinderace on ladder earlier.
Oh yeah, is there anything going on there? Is that worth looking into?
Coaching?
Like with like a Ryor though.
I think that's like the only one it could. Like, I was thinking the best Pokemon to coach are Cinderace and Dragapult, but I don't think they do enough just with the +1 boosts.
Yeah, you kind of want to stick around.
The defense is pretty nice for Cinderace, I will admit. But
it's not a strategy that actually wins tournaments.
Yeah, it's not going to go too far.
It'll beat people, but it won't win tournaments. It's too much investment for insufficient return.
Mm-hmm. I only bring up Ryor because it's not a priority move, but Prankster Ryor it priority. So, and Hitmontop's not relevant enough to be able to like slip it in, you know.
I was running it on Hitmontop, but it happened once in my like 20 games of testing, and I was like, yeah, we can get rid of this one.
Well, all right.
So
next move is also a move Hitmontop can use. Triple Axle. It's basically good triple kick, but it's ice.
Mm-hmm.
It does a base 20 hit, then a base 40, then a base 60.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But all 3 can miss.
All 3 can miss. They're all 90% accurate. It's 72% to hit them all.
At least the way that Showdown makes it go, they make it like rollout. Once you miss, it stops.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And I don't like that. Like missing the second one, I feel like I want to roll the third one, you know. Mm-hmm. And I would say no, that's not how it works. So that makes me really...
if you're like targeting weakness policy Dragapult, where if you hit all of them, you kill, but if you only hit one of them, then their weakness policy activates and you're just done.
Yeah, that's not... Well, what even gets triple? Because I know Weavile gets it, right?
Weavile gets it.
Miranda gets it.
If your Technician Hitmontop, it does as much as Stab Close Combat. because it's effectively base 180 with Technician, and so that KOs Togekiss.
I mean, on a skill, so Cincino gets it, and that's not a good Pokemon. Let's just cover that one first. But in a fun team or in like a singles format, just to mention it, because I think it's kind of cool, I could see Triple Axel being on a skill link Cincino, if that lets it hit all 3.
I feel like its coverage might be better than that, because like Bullet Seed, Rock Blast, Tail Slap, but...
Well, usually the last move is kind of like, you have those 3, and then it's like, what's the 4th one?
Right, good point.
But that's like the only thing I see for it. Weavile, I mean, I have a guy in my chat who really likes Weavile. He's always like, what do you think of Weavile? What do you think of Weavile? And, you know, like, I'm like, honestly...
We wish Weavile was good, but...
I know, I really do. Well, the one thing I always tell him is, like, I cannot get over the fact that it's slower than Dragapult.
Yeah.
And, like, the moment I run Weavile and I'm like, haha, I have a Weavile, my opponent's, you know, Life Orb Wormwind just KOs me because I don't want to be Sash, really. And so... And even if they don't knock you out, you're at -1 attack, and then what are you doing? So Weavile makes me sad, but could maybe see some usage.
Speaking of sad, I think it's the last sad move I'll mention is Flip Turn, which is super good.
Don't think that's sad.
No, it's not
Jeremy,
sad.
The distribution is sad.
The distribution is sad, yes. It's in fact, it's so good that they had to make it weaker than U-Turn. It's a base 60 water U-Turn.
You want to tell you about that dream you had, Jeremy?
I literally had a dream about Flip Turn Gyarados, and then I woke up, and I was very sad.
Like on choice bands? Oh.
Well, no. I was actually thinking I would run Assault Vest Snarl, a move also doesn't get. If you like Incineroar, except without Fake Out, you can cycle Snarl Intimidate. It's beautiful. It counters Sand because they're flying type. So many things.
Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Sadly not.
Barraskewda is the only good Pokemon that gets it. For
I
our
agree.
purposes.
Yeah.
Like, we were theorying like if Polytoad got it. Ooh. On Parrish. Ooh.
Well, Primarina getting it on Parrish is actually pretty big.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know how much it actually impacts, but that opens a few doors.
It
you
does.
know.
It does.
I'm not sure how big the doors are, but
they're there.
It's cool. They are there. They exist. Somebody should try to walk through them, please.
All right, I've just been eyeing them. I'm trying to go from worst to best. I'm surprised I didn't mention Meteor Beam sooner, but I just think it's really good on like Colossal because it gives it a much stronger special Gmax Focal Lift.
Yeah, that's really cool. Special might take over physical because the only reason I ever ran physical is because your special rock just sucked.
Yeah,
so
does it even get Power Gem? I forget.
No, it just gets Ancient Power, so its max move was like 100, 110.
So now you're getting what, the 140? Yeah, you hit the 140, so that's good.
Yeah, so that's really big.
I don't think we have any reason for any Pokemon to use like Power Herb Meteor Beam right now, but just the fact that it gives you a special attack boost then goes for the attack is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Like I know in singles it's looking cute on like Starmie, I think.
I saw the Starmie. Yeah, the Starmie looks cool.
But nothing else.
No, I mean even looking at everything that gets Meteor Beam is slow. Yeah. Or a rock type. And rock types are usually... Yeah. Nihilego?
Yeah, well, honestly, we need more Pokemon to be added to make better advantage of some of these attacks, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The re-entry of the Ultra Beasts is going to annihilate the meta. Assuming, Tapus are coming back,
Tapus were going to do that regardless, but I think it was leaked that the Ultra Beasts are also coming back.
Yes, it was.
So, how did I miss this one? Misty Explosion. We were talking about this before I hit record, but it's a base 100 Fairy Explosion that in Misty Terrain is base 150. Not even 200. What's up with that?
Definitely not a good move.
Nope.
And there's no, Misty Terrain doesn't get set by anything. What are you going to run, Weezing?
Well, yeah, because that's the one that's exploding anyways. Dude, if they give it the Tapu Fini, though, wow.
Misty Explosion, it would not be. Yeah, Misty Explosion is one of those rare moves that doesn't deal damage to your opponent's Pokemon. It deals damage to their soul if they lose to it.
That's true.
And that's all.
Honestly, I almost lost to... I forget what tour I was playing in. Oh, no, it was the May IC. I almost lost to Curse Explosion Weezing. And like regular explosion is better than Misty Explosion. I'll go that far to say that.
Wait, it is?
Yeah.
Wait. Even in terrain, hold on. 150 times...
Oh, we're doing calcs mid-cast now?
Yeah, no. Just a
No. We do that like every episode now. I love it.
A stab Misty Explosion is 225 base power. It just is weaker than Explosion.
Wait, I thought Explosion was 200 now. It's 250?
Well, there's Explosion and there's Self-Destruct.
Yeah, Self-Destruct is 200.
Oh, okay. I thought Self-Destruct was weaker. I don't know why. But
the only saving grace...
That's
the only saving grace is Misty Explosion is special, but...
And also can be super effective.
That is true. The super effective maybe have some...
It's Dragapult.
Alright, whatever. We've been talking about this way too much.
Too much Misty Explosion.
For a bad move. Next one, I'm going to say dual wing beat. Anything with a wing got it. It's you know, I think it's really good on Scizor because of Technician. So it's a base. It finally gets a base 120 flying move.
Well, I think Scizor and Talonflame are good.
Talonflame, yeah. Bans Talonflame, one-shots Whimsicott with priority.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to run Sharp Beak, it actually one-shots 4 HP Whimsicott. You know, so not all of them, but...
Oh, I thought that was a roll from what I saw, but okay. I'll believe
Sharp Beak makes it exactly 100. I was doing it yesterday.
Nice. Then you would KO mine because I like my Moonblast damage too much.
I do like my Moonblast damage too. So that's what I figure. People will like their Moonblast damage, so it's not the worst.
The one thing I feel required to shout out here is that Scyther is a really, really good dual wing beat user. It gets Technician, it gets Stab, its defenses are 80, it can run Eviolite. I've been looking for an excuse to run Scyther for like 3 generations now, and I might just have it.
Dr. Fidget, I think he cut that regional. I think he cut a Florida regional in 2012 with it.
Okay, I wouldn't.
Tailwind, but like,
I would not doubt that.
Yeah. Well, it gets Tailwind, it gets Roost. Yeah. The only problem is the whole 4 times weakness to Rock.
Also, it's only 90% accurate. Well, they threw 90% accurate on so many of these moves for no reason.
Yeah, dual wing beat I think is a move that would be perfectly fine as 100% accurate, and I'm honestly disappointed it's not.
All right. Next one, Terrain Pulse. It's Weather Ball for terrain.
We have so many terrain wars.
Gets boosted from Mega Launcher for it.
Trick Room Klotzer team.
It gives it a lot of coverage it didn't have before.
I think that it's the same issue though. Is like, how do you set the terrains? You know,
you just have to run both Rillaboom and Indeedee.
That's what I'm saying. It's just the weirdest. Indeedee's not too bad, but then you like already have an Indeedee on your team. So like, do you need a second? Does your Klotzer need to also be going for a Psychic move? You know, it's just weird. Like with with Weather Ball, you could say that Venusaur wanted to go for fire moves and stuff. I don't know. I'm not too excited for Terrain Pulse. I thought it'd be a lot cooler because I thought it was going to be like way stronger.
Yeah, because it's only not like... it's space 50 out of terrain, but it's space 100 in terrain, not counting like the terrain boosts from some of the terrain. So
yeah,
it's solid.
It's not bad. I'll give it that.
Next one.
I mean,
you go on, Jeremy.
I was just gonna say it competes with Nature Power potentially if like Tapu Koko gets it, but right now, no.
Yeah, actually, I forgot. Nature Power existing is why we were curious what Terrain Pulse could be, because like we don't need.
Yeah.
We didn't need this move because of Nature's not Nature's Madness.
Nature Power.
Yeah, I was thinking of the other Nature Coco move. But...
Well, it's interesting because Nature Power would turn into the move. Terrain Pulse is just Terrain Pulse, you know?
Yeah, that is true. I don't think that affects anything at all.
Well, it's just the Mega Launcher thing.
The secondary effects.
Yeah, and the secondary effects, too.
Yeah, good point.
That's just why it's so weird.
Yeah. Next one, Scorching Sands. Ground type Scald.
Gastrodon doesn't get this, and that confuses me a lot. Like, why?
Because it's a slug. It's in the mud. It doesn't have access to sand. Like,
I guess.
Do you want to put a slug in the desert and see what happens?
That's true. Probably not. Probably not.
No.
Well, I was just thinking it gets scald already, so hot water, hot ground. I was thinking they might be interchangeable, but apparently not.
Torkoal and Charizard are the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, Charizard.
Oh, and Colossal.
Yeah, that's true. Colossal Special didn't have it didn't have a ground option before, did it? It didn't get Earth Power, right?
I don't think so.
No,
I think it
doesn't.
I think it's cool because Charizard now can run this over a grass move. Because, what were you going to do? Run Dragon Pulse or, Focus Blast on your Charizard? Well, okay, you may say yes, but I personally think the ground coverage would probably be better. And support the team a little bit better, too.
And those two, yes. But, the thing is, the Flying Grass Fire trio is just so hard to deny.
Mm-hmm.
And giving up the max guard option is not worth it for ground coverage. On Colossal, I respect a little bit more because max Quake is potentially very valuable.
Because its defense is already, super high.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're maxed, getting a special defense boost, especially if either through some other synergy with the team or in some other manner you have sand up, you could potentially take minuscule amounts of damage. But I don't really see its viability right now on Charizard.
I'll give you that. Maybe if it's really itching to Oko, opposing Colossal or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one thing it would be for Colossal, basically.
Yeah,
because it's weird because you can't even fake out, so you'd have to be Tailwind Charizard. But that'd be about it.
Yeah, on the Whimsicott Charizard teams. It would be, that I'm not even gonna calculate that. That would be able to KO.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay, we talked about expanding forest, grassy glide. They're staples on the Pokemon that get them. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
The other their sister, Rising Voltage. It just decided it doubles in electric terrain. But only when does it affect flying types? Because from the flavor text, I thought it wouldn't double against flying types. Because it says the move's power doubles when the target is on electric terrain. Do we know?
I don't know. A Rotom used it against me.
I guess it wouldn't matter because it's super effective anyways?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do feel like you'd have to get the terrain boost. Because I don't know about Expanding Force, but I feel like Expanding Force...
Well, so...
Expanding Force wouldn't need it, right?
Well, I'm curious about... I actually haven't seen this in, game yet, but... Expanding Force says power goes up and damages all Pokemon on psychic terrain. I think it's not spread on flying Pokemon. I forgot about that. But,
Well, yeah, actually, Bronzong, I think, is the only thing that gets it.
Gets what?
Not on the ground. Gets Expanding Force?
Oh, no, it wouldn't be the user using the move. It's the opponent being on the terrain. That's why it's the opposite of getting the boost from terrain. So that's why I thought it's good on Rotom because it actually gets to take advantage of the terrain for once.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I like that.
At least on Showdown, Expanding Force does still hit flying types. So it's possible that's bugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very important interaction.
Did I miss any? Oh yeah, the most important one, but I'll get to that after I make sure we got everything. Yeah, well, we talked about Grassy Glide. Do you guys think it's 100% necessary on Rillaboom now?
No, but it's really good.
Yeah. Well, there've been so many situations where I've had a weakness policy Togekiss wreak havoc on my opponent's team, and then now I'm at 20% and their Banded Rillaboom comes in and Grassy Glide KOs me, and I'm like, you weren't supposed to be an answer.
Good.
You were not supposed to be. But yeah, it's really it just cleans up really well. For
sure. And the most important, in my opinion, Lash Out. Great dark move. We've basically figured out the mechanics for it, right? If stats are lowered during the turn, the power of this move is doubled. And I'm pretty sure I read in the research thread on Smogon that includes, like, Intimidate leads and switch-ins.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it includes lead?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I was unsure of because I always thought leads were, like, kind of like a pseudo, like, turn 0 kind of
I thought they were too.
Not for Lash Out, at least.
Not for Lash Out, at least, yeah. I think there are other
because
mechanics that do consider that turn 0.
even when we had and obviously we don't have the ability to save battles anymore, but when you would watch a battle, as you sent the Pokemon out, that was 1 on the bottom screen counter. Turn 1 always was number 2. So I always viewed sending Pokemon out as a separate interaction.
Yeah, but Lash Out
Which is weird.
disagrees.
Lash Out does disagree. What am I to say if Lash Out disagrees
And
with
the
me?
switchings and everything, yeah, it's important. But I think what it doesn't count towards is if turn 1 you switch out Intimidate, but then the next turn they use Lash Out is not doubled. It's only the turn that they switched
I agree,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the lead case is a little, like, special.
It's really weird.
If a Pokemon comes onto the field and intimidates you, on the turn that you were intimidated, you have the ability to use double Lash Out. So think about it like this, right? When they send in their Pokemon from Team Preview, that's like if they switched at the start of the turn. Those are comparable situations.
That's true. That's a good point. Except
Okay.
they just are able to use a move.
Yeah.
So as far as Lash Out goes, do we think, like, if you get Lash Out and you're running a dark move, you're running Lash Out? Well, other than, like, Assurance is still cool with the double because this doesn't, like, the case of doubling from 75 to 150 on Lash Out, the biggest case is going to be Intimidate. And, like, fishing for that, like, that's less in your control than just Assurances. But Bulldoze Lash Out, that's pretty nutty.
Bulldoze Lash Out's pretty cool. I haven't seen anyone do it yet, though.
Me either. But so because of that and various other regions, I think it's safe to use over Crunch on Tyranitar, like, ever now.
I think that's true.
Like,
I
it's the
think
same
we
max
always-
power. It's 5 less BP. Like, although I think Incineroar might want Darkest Lariat in a lot of situations more than it currently. But
Two quick things to point out.
Mhm.
One, I would want to check exactly how Lash Out works in game because it could be like a Defiance type thing, which is
I'm pretty sure it has been tested that it does work.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard that too.
The one other thing I just feel compelled to say, as someone who lost $3,500 on a Crunch defense drop,
Yes.
don't underestimate the fact that Crunch has a secondary effect.
That is fair, and it is slightly stronger, more chip damage.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I say Darkest Lariat on Incineroar is because it's 10 base power stronger, and ignoring defenses can be pretty good. I also I haven't run into it yet, but Palisand's back in the decks, and
yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
I have run into it.
Here, we'll get into that because we talked about the moves. Let's talk. First, I don't know. I just didn't mention this earlier, but we got confirmation about how much stronger the Galar starter Gmax move is, and there was some debate even today on the power. But the unique property of it is that any of the moves that can turn into the Gmax move, they're all base 160. So
I like that a lot. Yeah.
That said, for Inteleon, Cinderace, Rillaboom, do you guys think that Gmax is, like, just definitively better because of that, or will we see some teams with just normal Dynamax?
So for Inteleon specifically, the other effect of the moves is that they ignore abilities.
Yeah.
So Inteleon using Max Water move is meaningful when you're able to hit Gastrodon or target around Gastrodon.
Mm-hmm.
For Rillaboom, this was already briefly mentioned, but setting up Grassy Terrain is potentially valuable. Ignoring abilities isn't a huge deal. Sap Sipper isn't a real thing.
Mm-hmm. I think Grassy Glide being that 160 max move is pretty like relevant with Gmax, though.
I do agree that matters. it means you don't get as punished for not fitting Wood Hammer onto the set, which, depending on what you're running, you might not have easy space for. I'm actually very conflicted on Cinderace because it is a Pokemon that appreciates the extra base power on its max move, but it also appreciates the ability to set Sun and then just use Sun-boosted max flares.
Right.
So I think
it's basically like, do you want the stronger fire move right away or later? I think one of the best uses for Gmax Cinderace might be on the non-fire move Cinderace sets. Or, like, I don't know. There's going to be the whole mind game on it. I even had this theory with Gmax Corphinite. If you ever didn't have a flying move, run Gmax.
That's funny.
Although, like, again, it's mind games. Like,
the flying's actually not bad now.
Quick shout out, right? Because Gmax Windrage removes terrains, so that's valuable. And if you have, like, say, an Amogus, it also removes stuff like Safeguard. So if they're behind Safeguard in misty terrain, you Gmax Windrage, you can spore them. So
yeah, but if you use the best max move in the game, Max Airstream, then your max speed Sashamungus can outspeed them and spore them. So
potentially,
that is true.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we talked about the Gmaxes plenty. Urshifu. You know what? No, we'll start with Urshifu now. We're talking about the Isle of Armor decks. But first, before we talk, I need to mention they're not in the decks, but we need to talk about the rule document update because of this damn NPC that we have added in the DLC. I love it because I get to bring back old Pokemon and use them nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
But so there's this mark you can get that essentially makes a Pokemon like able to be used in competitive functions. It completely gets rid of like any old moveset moves and stuff. So Rip, Eruption, Heatran until we they'll never give us that event again. But you know, unfortunately. But that's currently the only way to get Terrakion, Cobalion, and Virizion legal, and they're specifically mentioned to be legal along. So they. In the rules doc, it says Galar Pokedex numbers from 1 to 397, Isle of Armor 1 to 210, and then since Series 3, we've had National Dex 638 to 640, which is, you know, the Alolan starters, which I didn't like that they were added in the first place. And then now we have the Swords of Justice. So
yeah, I don't really get the adding.
We've known from, like, data mines and stuff that they were, like, in the game, just not obtainable until we got home. So, like, I guess that's the only reason why they're legal, because you can get them, and you can give them that Galar mark, so they're legal. But
they exist.
They exist.
That's all there is to say about them. They exist.
Yeah. And honestly, they're all good except for, I'll say, Virizion. Even
you really think Cobalion's better?
Yes. I have lost to many a Cobalion so far. It is a solid Assault Vest Maxmon.
Virizion is very much undercut by its typing. I feel like it doesn't appreciate being a fighting type at the moment.
Yes. No, the quadruple weakness to flying, not appreciated at all. Also, its stats just don't help its typing, at least currently. It's a sad life for Virizion.
It's weird because I think Virizion was like actually pretty decent in 2018.
Yeah, we had
weird
Rajan got second at Toronto. Yes, no.
We got second at Toronto to Yuri, right? But
yeah.
No, to James.
Yeah.
Or no, to James.
Oh, it was James. Yeah, Yuri was in Canada though.
And then I cut seniors nats with it in 2012.
I've never seen it. David used it in 2015 actually for a while, and I was like, "What the heck? This is like a garbage Pokemon. Why would anyone use this?"
It had alright uses then. Cobalion actually had like one usage pop off. I think it was Patrick Donegan, Pedons. He won a PC with it. I think because it was
That's
like you would dunk on like Sylveon. I think I don't remember.
Was this in 14.5?
No, I think this was No, it wasn't 14.5 because Cabalion wasn't legal then. It was 15.
Yeah, you're right.
It was post Worlds 15.
Yeah. Well, it had a reasonable chalk matchup.
Yeah, I think that was why.
Kang, Sylveon.
Mm-hmm. It was the New York, New Jersey meta was weird at the time, and Cabalion just had a place there. But now it gets really good max moves. Terrakion lost Aerial Ace, so unless you want to run Air Slash, you can't max Air with Terrakion. But Cabalion does get bounce because it's a goat. It goes boop boop.
Bounces. The bounce is cool.
And then it'd be like Knuckle, Iron Head, ground move. I forget, but
I don't know if
it's solid. It might not get a ground move. I'm not an expert on Cabalion. Frankly, I don't want to talk about Cabalion for too long.
Oh yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's interesting. I do agree it's better than Verzian though. Verzian is sadly in the dumpster this year.
That is true. All right, to start off with these Pokemon, since we've had, we've had exactly a week to kind of test them or like theory them extensively with the DLC launching. I want to start with, I think, the most overhyped, overrated duo, Polytope Kingdra. They're back. They're good. I don't think people will like. I know it's early. People aren't running like the right comps with them. Some of them are all right, but they're like relying too much on Kingdra just being like their primary Dynamax Pokemon and like dishing out loads of damage when it can just like fall over pretty easily.
I agree. It's really weird. I've seen that a common thing is it's like they go Polytope Kingdra and then Rillaboom is instantly smacked on the team. Nothing else matters. And that's not even a bad choice, but I think like it hinders it a little bit when everyone's doing it. And I've never even seen it do that much on Rain. Like, it kind of makes sense. You want to beat Gastrodon or whatever, but nobody's running Gastrodon. I feel like people are just kind of.
Well, it's more about Rain helping Rillaboom last around with the fire moves and stuff. Like, I guess Rillaboom on those teams can be a good Dynamax Pokemon too. Honestly, I see way too much Scizor in those types of teams, and people just need to realize Scizor's like, I think this might be the worst Scizor's ever been.
It is. It definitely is. Well, Dynamaxing makes it worse. Like,
because you want to run Bullet Punch, but you also want a stronger Max Steel Spike.
Well, I was telling Jeremy that like Scizor could be a like. It's weird because usually you have like a dedicated Dynamaxer, but Scizor could be a dedicated non-Dynamaxer. Like you never Dynamax it. Yeah. You run like Banded still.
My 2 cents are that the scary parts about Rain are whatever the non-Rain portion of the team is. Because Rain, like many hard strategies, can allow you to condition your opponent into leading certain things lest they just lose to a hard Rain lead. So Rain teams that take greater advantage of Polytope with Parasong, or Rain teams that have relatively good Stuffsy type cores in them, so a strong backbone, while still always threatening to just lead Herder Rain. I think that is underexplored at the moment, and I'm looking forward to see how that develops.
I see a lot of like semi-room stuff with Porygon 2 Marowak on them. We'll talk about those. Actually, yeah, we'll talk about those now. That mode's solid. What do you guys think about? Well, let's go one at a time. Let's start Marowak. I know you guys want to talk about Marowak.
I think Marowak's busted. Like, it has very specific uses, but I think its typing is fantastic, both defensively and offensively. Offensively, it can hit just about everything.
Yeah, base 160 attack, effectively, with the club, right?
Yeah.
Yikes.
And then you have to realize that its match moves are also very strong based off of Flare Blitz and presumably Poltergeist. Dropping defense.
That was the move I forgot.
Yes.
I didn't talk about Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Well, in the realm of Marowak, because I think Marowak's the only relevant Poltergeist Pokemon for us.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's base 110, Ghost move. It only works if the opponent has an item. So, like, you're taking control of the item and then, like, attacking them with it. Which is cool because it reveals what the item is, in case you didn't know.
That's my favorite part about Poltergeist, is it'll tell you the item. My least favorite part is that it can miss. Because why not? Why not make everything miss?
Your least favorite part isn't that it doesn't work if they don't have an item.
That's fine.
Who really doesn't have an item? Like weakness policy, maybe.
I walled a Marowak because my Rotom Wash, like if it had Shadow Bone, it would have beaten me. But my Citrus Berry had already activated.
That's so sad.
So he could
That's
not
so
KO
sad.
me. I was like,
That does make sense actually.
so that's why I'd be more privy towards Shadow Bone, because unless the max damage like is that necessary. But the Polter guys
are actually the same.
They're the same
It's
for Shadow Bone.
130 for both.
Okay.
The break point is 110, where it goes to 140.
I thought it was 110 though.
Isn't it 110? Poltergeist.
Oh, am I just wrong? I'm probably just wrong.
I think Poltergeist is 110. Yeah.
It is okay to be wrong sometimes, you know. It happens to the best of us.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Is
Oh,
it is.
no, you're right. You're right. It is 110. I'm just wrong.
It's a 110 move that you can just use. Like.
Yeah.
With Marowak's attack, that's kind of crazy.
No doubt. No doubt.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is, and this is a mechanic that's a little bit underappreciated in Pokemon. It's also something that I tried to abuse to perhaps not ideal success in my 2018 Worlds team. But the way in which damage is calculated is very, very abusable.
Go on.
What I did on my 18 Worlds team was, like, once you have Weather set up, that's a 1.5 times boost. Stab's a 1.5 times boost. Helping Hand is a 1.5 times boost. With Marowak, its club is a 2 times boost. So those stack really, really quickly. So Dynamax Marowak throwing off 140 base power moves in Sun starts dealing hideous amounts of damage.
I'm already upset about it.
I know. I could see that KOing like Incin, honestly.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like a neutral Max Flare and Sun, I could see that KOing Incin.
I wouldn't even be that shocked. I don't think it does, but I wouldn't be that shocked.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does either, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
The one quick other thing I want to say about Poltergeist is Delamise gets it. I like
Delamise is the other one. Yeah.
And it's a 40 base power increase over Shadow Claw, which is obviously significant.
Well, I never thought about that. I mean, we've all lost to that random Dusclops Delamise team, right?
Side Shadow Snake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But hey,
Same with the Arachnid.
Yeah.
They rock to it, and you're like, oh yeah.
Scary. All right. We're running all right on time. I don't want to go too long with this kind of episode, mostly because the meta is a 1 week meta. We don't have an in-game ladder. The showdown ladder is buggy. I never remember which Urshifu is there. Oh, let's just talk about Urshifu, not the Pokemon much. It's okay. We have a lot of fighting types. They're okay.
Yeah.
But just the fact that in team preview you don't know what type it is. That's so scary. You can guess off of team comp usually.
Well,
yeah.
you can find out, right?
Huh?
Or which one are you talking on Showdown?
On Showdown.
No. In game you can't find out.
Oh.
Don't they,
in team preview,
sprites?
they have the same sprite.
Hmm.
When
That
they're
is pretty-
released, when like you fight them, they're in a different stance. That's when you know what type they are, at the very least.
Okay.
So like it's
You
similar
can tell we
to
both haven't played the
Savali.
DLC.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Urshifu in game or in Showdown's bugged too because they don't have the models yet, so you just get transparent PNG. But how they do it in team preview is technically correct. When you highlight it on Showdown, it shows it as dark fighting, but it can be the water fighting one. That's messed me up before though, because I didn't really connect that. So.
Yeah, I didn't connect those dots, and then
because when you highlight it, it shows Urshifu and then asterisks for its.
Yeah. No, I've gotten messed up by that show. I mean, I feel like once we play in game with it a few times, we'll be like, okay, I don't know what type it is, But for now, like, I think, what was it? I think I led Incin Amoonguss into like Urshifu and Didi, and then I was like, oh yes, it's a water Urshifu, blah blah whatever, because that's all you face on ladder, So I switched my Incin out to like a resist, and he helping hand, its signature strike move, Oko's my Amoonguss. I'm like, oh, wicked. I was like, what? Like, where did that come from? And I just, because I saw in team preview, I scrolled over and I'm like, oh yeah, it's the water type. It's not the fighting dark one. And then got a little wreck there. But
so one quick thing to say, right? It is hypothetically possible that never winds up being a problem for VGC players. Because with the Players Cup, we are seeming to transition, at least for online tournaments, to most of team information being disclosed beforehand.
I forgot.
I wouldn't be shocked.
We've been talking about that for a long time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if regionals start at least messing around with that concept.
I would, because I completely forgot about it because I was struggling to figure out when we'd even talk about this here. But it was announced for people at home who don't know, anyone who's in the Players Cup qualifier, all your team, like, essentially anything you would show off in, like, a rental team is available.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know stats or natures, but you know moves and items. So, fortunately, yes, we will know what type their Urshifu is. As long as it has the signature move. Which it should.
They roll up without the signature move. Ultimate play.
Because they have the same stats. They have different move pools too though. So like Aqua Jet and Soccer Punch are on the different ones.
Well, Water Urshifu doesn't learn any dark coverage, which disappointed me quite a lot.
Okay.
I'm sure they made it makes sense that they did that, but it's still sad. All right, that was a. I guess we'll expand upon more on the Players Cup thing, just in terms of these Pokemon that we're team building with now, because team building just in general for Players Cup is weird. Like knowing that with weird information, like I'm not running beat up. I can't do that. I can't afford this. I mean, I could. I've also
you can run a Whimsicott without beat up. He wins your regionals. 2 of them, as a matter of fact.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm talking about like weird flex.
Honestly.
Okay.
Well, you know I won my first regional with Terracott, right? It just didn't have beat up on the Whimsicott.
Yes, I know. You know, that's how I qualified for Nationals in 2011. When you had to qualify for Nationals, the beat up Whimsicott I bred was slower than my Terrakion.
No way.
So this was at the time. At the time, you couldn't learn both beat up and encore on the same set just because of how breeding worked. So what was it? I had a flawless speed encore one, so I ended up using that instead, and I actually won my top 32 game to qualify for Nationals because they played as if I was beat up, and I just they faked out. And I encored them, and they're like, it was.
You've shown 3 moves, and then your 4th move is just not beat up.
Yeah,
it works.
It works, but so beat up's still good, I think, for like Players Cup, like, because these kinds of teams, you see them in team preview, you're like understanding that they're beat up anyways.
Well, what I'll say, as someone who's played in the Invitational with the open team preview sort of style, just because you know what your opponent has does not mean you can beat it.
That's a good point.
And so,
or if you don't always remember, maybe you gotta pay attention.
Oh no! I had that stuff open. That was like I had a separate monitor just for my opponent's team. So, but yeah, like at Tikuri, for example, I knew his whole team. I never had a chance of beating him.
Well, because they know your team.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You're on equal ground. You know your opponent's whole team, and they know all your stuff, but just don't run dumb stuff, and then we'll all be having a good time here. So
there's 2 quick points I want to make. First things first is that there is some very important information that isn't given away. There's a world of difference between a 4-speed Dragapult and a max-speed Dragapult, and we do not know that from. We did indeed see that.
We did indeed see that.
Know that from Team Preview. The other part of this is that you may know their team. Especially if they're using weirder Pokemon, you do not necessarily know how they're going to play it.
Yeah.
So there are still elements of surprise for unfamiliar things. And what I'm really curious about is how this is actually going to impact viewership. I think as though we will get, at least on a technical side, some higher quality games because game plans can be more fleshed out from team preview of game 1, at least in terms of optimal play. However,
100%.
I feel like there are a bunch of hype moments where one player, like in a game 1, gets completely caught off guard by something random and just crushed.
Dragon Groudon.
Which isn't necessarily the most elegant chess type gameplay,
Right.
but it can be very, very exciting for stream viewership.
True. Interesting. We know that for like the qualifier rounds, they're only streaming 2-hour blocks on the Thursday. So I don't even know how they're gonna decide who's streaming or what games they're recording, because we know from the Invitational you guys didn't use the spectator mode or spoof or whatever people use for that.
Well, that's the weirdest thing is, like, are they gonna suddenly do this live? Like, they didn't do our thing live.
No, they're not doing it live because it's on Thursday nights. Well, unless they specifically, they could still do it live. Just they would have to. Availability on Thursdays is gonna be shaky for people, though.
That's what I'm saying. That stuff's gonna be weird. People are gonna be playing
it's
like at work.
Pre-recorded stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're fine. But yeah, figuring that stuff out, I don't know. Like, they're gonna have to figure out probably if they don't have the setup. There's gonna be a lot of communication. Like, fortunately, everyone in the Invitational, I think, had access to a capture card if needed. So.
Well, that was honestly, like, I'm pretty sure I can say this. That was one of the requirements. They asked you, that was like the first thing they asked you was like, are you willing and able to record your matches? And you had to say yes, or they wouldn't let you in.
That makes sense. That checks out. Well, we were thinking, like, I don't know if official tournaments would ever try the, like, spoof, because I know Rose Tower and, like, Victory Road, they finally got it working, but there's a lot of complications, at least early on. I don't really know how the technology works exactly, but...
And it might not be something that like Nintendo agrees with or whatever.
Yeah, that they could legally do. That's true.
That's what I was thinking about. It's like they could probably, but you never know if that's something that they would actually go through with.
I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. We'll go back to the Pokemon as like a send-off note. I want you guys to name 2 underrated Pokemon that got added to this, but not yet. I need to mention one argument I got into that I want your guys' thoughts on as far as public information in the Players Cup regarding the move Ally Switch.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
Do you not run it, or do you run it and never use it?
No, what you do is you run it and you just never click it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm calling out Jake Muller. I told him that. He told me that was the stupidest thing I've ever said. And I'm like, no, like, it's on their mind. I could use it. If there's, like, I'm sure there's probably, like, optimal positions where, like, yeah, you click it here. Like, even if they have, like, an inkling, like, it's super unsafe for them to call out the Ally Switch. But, like, I think it's still a solid move to have, even if your opponents know it.
Yeah, well, it's weird because Wolf and Marcus both had it in the Invitational, and I just happened to be lucky enough to be in 0 positions where, like, there was a 50-50. Like, all the positions where they could or did click Ally Switch, I had a super safe play where it didn't matter what they did. Nice. And I'm very happy about that. But I'm pretty sure, like, if I had been in a spot where I needed to read an Ally Switch, my mind would have been racing. Because if they had, like, knowing they had it, it does make it worse. And there's a 50% chance I just play the game. Yeah.
Like,
I think though,
sorry, I was gonna say, like, normally, like, you just see a Dusclops, you don't know the moveset, you still, like, kind of have to, like, they could Ally Switch here. Oh no.
But did you think about it?
It's just stressful.
Well, I think what it is it's an interesting thing you say where you were saying you would never click it. I think as the Ally Switch user in that situation, you have to commit. You have to be like, yeah, I'm never going to click it. Because the good thing is you mind game your opponent and you scare them a lot. The bad thing is you mind game yourself and you scare yourself. And you don't want that, obviously. You know. So if you sit there and you can actually say, like, I will not be clicking this move.
Well, now I have to always click it. If people just, like, if any of my opponents listen to the CableCast,
of course.
I have to always hit Ally Switch. So I guess I'm
Schrodinger's Ally Switch.
It would be one or the other, but you don't want to mind game yourself too hard. Mind gaming your opponents, I think that's amazing and hilarious. But the moment that you start, like, confusing yourself a little bit with that, it's a little questionable. Sure. But it's a really cool strategy. I definitely think it's something to think about.
Appreciate that. All right, so the reason why, well, we talked about the moves, which is the more important thing that the people need to learn about. And some of these Pokemon added to the Pokedex, like, they could be better, but we need more time with them to, like, have an informed opinion on that. So next episode of the CableCast probably be after the first round of the qualifiers and whatnot. I'll get some people.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Really
we'll
cool.
have a different, like, scope of the meta at that point. But so starting with Ashton going back and forth, just to end it, two Pokemon you think that are underrated. I would prefer new DLC Dex Pokemon, but if they got better from move tutors or like better in this meta and they were already in the Dex, those would count. But so anything, you go one, then Jeremy goes one, then you go one.
All right, perfect. So my first pick, honestly, is gonna be Dragalge. I think people think about Porygon Z and they're like, yeah, the adaptability makes that Pokemon really strong, right? And they're right. They're right.
I just died to it. I agree.
Yeah, it is. It is really crazy. And what people forget is Dragalge also gets adaptability.
I had forgotten until you said that. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it's especially in a meta where there's Dragapult, Togekiss, Rillaboom everywhere. A Poison Dragon's not bad. And so I don't know what to do with it yet. I really wish I did because it's like one of my favorite Pokemons in design. But like a weakness policy, Life Orb, something. It's to be a Trick Room. It's a Trick Room sweeper. Yeah. You put it with like some sort of Trick Room sweep.
I've seen it with Bulldoze, yeah.
Bulldoze, yeah. I mean, hey, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's good. That's some good stuff. I don't know what to do with it, but it seems like it could have a really cool spot in the meta once people start looking at it.
Okay. I'll definitely be building a team to torment Colin with. He hates that Pokemon.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. What was it? He won MPA. His team was just completely like walled and destroyed by it. It was I'm mentioning Pedons in the CableCast again, but yeah, it was him. He totally counter teamed him with Dragalge, and Colin Hire has never been the same.
It's never been the same since the incident.
No. All right, Jeremy, what's your first one?
I am going to go with Magnezone. I think Magnezone gets some respect, but not enough. I think the entirety of electric typing is just fantastic in such a pre-Marina kind of centric meta at the moment. It's also
and electric types usually, they like suck. Like pure electric's a really bad type. So the fact that it's electric steel.
I think Rotom was our only electric option before Series 5.
Toxtricity. But yeah.
No.
Go on.
Steel Spike is a huge deal. Max Lightning, both to boost your subsequent power, but also to potentially stop Yawn shenanigans, Spore shenanigans, all that's huge. And then, when I was testing Magnezone, I ran Ally Switch on it, and the number of people you can cheese with Ally Switch Magnezone is...
Okay, honestly, I find that legitimate because it no longer gets hidden power. So like the big question is, what do you do in that third slot? I remember substitute sub-lefties Magnezone was the one I liked on the ban archetype in 2017. But it gets body press now. Not awful. You're boosting your defenses with Steel Spike.
Yeah, it's kind of cool boosting your defenses. Volt Switch is also not bad too. Just if you want to pivot a little bit.
I
agree. Volt Switch is fine.
It's not the best. It's definitely not the best. Also, Rising Voltage if you really want to.
Rising Voltage, yeah. I think the 20 base power, right? 20 base power higher T-Bolt is better.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was saying it's like a third move slot. You got like T-Bolt, Flash Cannon, and then you're like, well, what else? That's like Rising Voltage could be a last move.
It could have space for that. I agree. Probably not Steel Beam. I want to run Steel Beam. Flash Cannon's too consistent.
I've used Steel Beam too much in my lifetime, and it's just not. It's not a good move.
It's been 6 months or 7 months.
My stream has a thing for Steel Beam.
Okay.
They always try to get me to put it on teams, and there were like clips on my channel where I think I had. Don't ask. I had a Steel Beam Excadrill versus. It was versus a Durant, and I win the game because they have a speed drop, and then all I need to do is just Earth Power, and my chat convinced me to Steel Beam, and I died first, and I was like, we are never using this again, because apparently Steel Beam kills you first. Don't know why.
Lovely.
Well, I guess Self-Destruct, Explosion are the same mechanic, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's true. That makes sense.
But still,
it also
Steel Beam
gets Self-Destruct.
Wait, what does?
Magnezone, I think.
Oh, Magnezone. Yeah, Magnezone.
I think
okay.
the last other third move I'd ever consider would be maybe Magnet Rise.
Magnet Rise is a really solid pick, especially if you're like under Trick Room and you can Magnet Rise and like your opponent blew their Dynamax Excadrill now, and you like Magnet Pull. I think Sturdy's probably the better ability, but you Magnet Pull in their Excadrill, you Magnet Rise, they burn their Dynamax because all they can do is Steel Spike you. That's funny.
I like that. Oh, well, I guess the last thing, abilities, they're all good.
Oh, they're all good, yeah.
Yeah. But
I personally am not super impressed by Analytic, but...
Okay. I guess, like, if you have Trick Room up enough, like, you're not gaining enough mileage, but... And then
I feel like
Magnet
if
Pull.
you're having your Magnezone move last consistently, you're playing your Magnezone wrong. That's my opinion.
Okay. I respect
I can see it.
All right, Ashton, what's your second underrated Pokemon?
So this is a Pokemon that existed before, but I think that Gothitelle is going to get a lot better now, because I think there's been a lot of interesting offense that has came up.
Cinderace Goth sounds scary to me. I just thought of that.
Cinderace Goth, yeah, well, because it's like you like having a support Pokemon with Helping Hand is always nice, because people like to fake out your support Pokemon, and so you can just like Helping Hand turn 1.
Yeah.
And then you have a Helping Hand boost. They can't figure out the Dynamax. Really good stuff. And especially if you can trap them in a bad lead. Because like you lead like it's kind of like Andrew Ding's team, right? The Lucamere team everybody knows of, the Durant Gothitelle stuff. You like lead Durant Goth, and if you're in a good spot, you Helping Hand Steel Spike, you instantly get a KO or something. And if you're in a bad spot, you like Trick Room switch to Tyranitar. And like I think that's stronger than ever. Because it was kind of niche. You could like only do it with Durant, and then like you had to have something to pivot in on fire. But now you've got like Rain you could do it with. You can lead like Goth Kingdra and then switch the Gothitelle to
so
Polytope.
Like kind of like the old what was it? The Gothma teams. Gothma. Right?
Yeah, like the old Gothma. I think that's gonna be really strong. Like if only we had Mawile, man. Mawile would complete that. But we do not.
We do not.
Perish Song is also suddenly real.
Yeah, I was thinking about Perish, or even like the bulk like Goth Lapras teams. They have Amoonguss now, which is pretty big.
Yeah. I wasn't even going to mention Amoonguss. Amoonguss, we all know it's good.
Yeah, facts.
Mm-hmm.
Although we have like, I'll say Pharaoh's like solid grass type, but like Rillaboom, wants to be on a lot of teams. Like doubling down on Amoonguss, Rillaboom is a little iffy, but it's good. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Although Pollen Puff now, it's.
I'm just gonna say real quick. I got walled out by an AV Duraludon Amoonguss combo. He just kept pollen puffing. I was like, I don't even know who to target at this point. So if I ignore Amoonguss, it's gonna spore me one of these turns. But Duraludon hasn't lost any HP the past like 3 turns, and that got annoying real fast.
I concur. All right, before I give Jeremy his last one, I just realized people care about my opinion sometimes. So
go for it. Yeah.
Instead of saying a mon that's good, I'm gonna shit on a Pokemon. Volcarona, why are you so bad? People want Volk to be good. It's just not. I'm sorry. Like, you guys can have your thoughts on that. Am I wrong there? Like,
there's too much water for it to be busted. Like, I do think it's reasonably
it's
good.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as good as it was.
There needs to be like a really specific comp for it. Like, we were thinking, if Volk was in like the original decks, Top Moth could have been good with Dynamax stuff. But I had doubts then. But I think some of the additions we have now is just like not gonna give it a time to shine, really.
Well, everything has Airstream. Dragapult's annoying. Dragapult's just so annoying. For Hitmon top and Volcarona to deal with. And then, like, typically I even want that with an Amoonguss, and Amoonguss doesn't help my Max Airstream Dragapult matchup at all, so it just doesn't feel like you can push that, at least in this current, week 1 meta we have, you can't really push it in the right direction.
Agreed. I don't even know what the Japanese players are doing yet. Like,
that's a good question.
That's what I need to know. Like, give me the ladder, like, yesterday. I mean, we have another week, so. But
yeah.
All right. I feel like it chipped you some time, but now go ahead. Talk about your second underrated Pokemon.
So this is going to be kind of clown fiesta after we're talking about how Volcarona is bad. But I think Alolan Sandslash is underrated. I'm dead serious about this.
All right, guys, that's been me. Now we'll end the stream on Alolan Sandslash, but talk about it. Go ahead.
I was playing in the 1800s, and I almost got wrecked by it. I was so interested in the team. It was like some hyper offense Alolan Sandslash, Ninetales, Indeedee
it
type
gets triple
stuff.
axle. Do you use triple axle on it?
I didn't, but you could. It's just steel ice coverage is really, really good. It also gets rock and ground, so you can basically hit anything you want to. I was running a Life Orb set, and the way the team functioned is it's one of those teams where you're not really trying to sweep with any one mon in particular. It had Dynamax Weakness Policy Code. That was typically what you did. But you would set up Tailwind with Talonflame or set up Aurora Veil with Ninetales, and you would just keep using stab, super effective moves with good coverage to continually get positive damage trades and just let them knock you out, take free switches, and then smack them around some more. So when I was playing with it, I had a very, very positive record. I don't really think it's like game breaking or anything, but I think it is an incredibly solid team.
We were saying underrated, so
it falls underrated.
Yeah.
I would put Alolan Sandslash like firmly as a B tier Pokemon and not below that, and I think most people would put it like maybe a D.
Yeah. Okay. I respect that. I have to play against Chef enough in the Connecticut, New England region that like I have to respect Slush Rush teams. So it's certainly better than Beartick. I will give it that.
I want Abomasnow to be good so badly, but it's just...
Yeah. Hales, honestly, I was thinking Series 3 that it might have been the first time that Rain was like the worst archetype. Because I felt like there was some like Hail stuff that was just better. But obviously Polytoad's back. We got Kingdra. Woo, Rain's back on at least. Well, Rain's still probably third. It's weird.
Well, the one thing, and I mean, I think it's interesting you mentioned the Series 3 Rain. It's like, what I would contribute that to is Series 3 Rain sucked because, like, even in 2017, Pelipper was an alright Tailwind setter. It really was. And, like, now...
Dynamic speed changes.
You would not catch yourself.
Tailwinding.
Yeah, you would not catch yourself tailwinding with a Pelipper. And I think that was the biggest thing, is it lost its one cell.
Because
they did still run it, yeah.
What else do you run on it? But
Wide Guard.
Maybe, I don't know.
I guess.
No,
So.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Now, but also now we have a Swift Swim Pokemon that actually doesn't turn off its weather to hit Dragapult super effectively.
Yes, love it.
Well, and it also has Airstream, which is monstrously important.
Yes, I said Polytope Kingdra was overrated earlier, but. Yeah, I just think it's because people are using it kind of weird. But it's still good. All right. Did we have... we kind of glanced over Porygon 2, but I think that's a Pokemon... I'll have the discussion with whoever I have on next about Porygon 2 and Dusclops and their place in the meta. I think more time needs to be spent in kind of both of those Pokemon currently.
Yeah, I could see it going either way.
Yeah, I think they both have a place as the bulky Trick Room Pokemon. Because they all kind of like different stuff. So, was there anything you guys felt we missed or glanced over before we end the show?
I think we covered basically everything.
Yeah, we got even to the Sandslash portion of the talk. So I think we got everything.
All right, sounds good. You guys have anything you want to plug? I know. Well, I'm not posting this right away because I have to edit it. But Ashton, you're streaming right after this. You want to plug that stuff?
I've been pretty active on streaming almost every day. Twitch.tv/Ashton Cox GAZ. I do Pokemon. If you're here, you love Pokemon, so why not check it out? That's all I got.
I don't have anything to plug other than my Twitter, which we were discussing ever so briefly before the podcast started.
Yeah, well, if you're watching on YouTube, our Twitters are below us, but they'll be in the description if not. Well, that knocking sounds like we need to end the stream of whatever we're doing. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I wish you guys luck in the Players Cup and your future battles. I've been Caleb Ryor. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye.